Welcome to the Build with Boundaries podcast. My name is Mahnaz, and this podcast is for mums who want to carve out time so that you can work in ways that work for you, your life, your family, and of course your business. Together, we will discover why you are not prioritising your business and the actions that you can take so you can live an intentional, productive, and fulfilled life without mum guilt. So let's dive in to today's episode.
Welcome to another episode of the Build with Boundaries podcast. I am really excited to share what human design is with you. I've had lots of questions from people who don't know anything about it. So I thought it was really worthwhile doing an episode where I cover some of the main foundations, because there is just so much in human design. It can definitely feel very overwhelming and a lot of information there in terms of what you look at, because you can get a free chart online. But I don't want you to go and do that yet, because I want you to watch this or listen to this and understand what it is so that you don't feel that overwhelm. I will also share my chart with you, but before I do that, I want to help you understand what it actually is. So let's start with the kind of the background around human design. So it is a bit like a profiling tool, okay? But I would say it's very different than something you may have experienced before. So bear with me in how I explain all the different elements and layers. So think of it more like a tool. It's a tool that helps us to cut through all the noise and really figure out who we are, how we can connect to ourselves and create personal flow. Understand what it is to be truly our authentic self. It brings us back to this connection with our higher self, you might call it, or authentic self. And the whole point of human design, understanding this, is to work out what is most efficient for us so that we can live a fulfilled life. So we can figure out where that fulfillment lies. So it's the division of personalities into 4 different energy types. And then these types will indicate how somebody is supposed to exchange energy with the world. And that's the whole kind of idea behind it. So the human design system is also known as the science of differentiation. It tells us where and how we are unique, and it tells us what the true essence of us is. And this is really, really powerful. So this was a system that was founded by somebody who is known as Ra Uruhu in 1987. So it's a synthesis of both ancient systems and modern sciences. It's not new as it sounds new. So let me share with you what those systems are. It's things like astrology. Then you have the Hindu chakra system. You have the Kabbalah. You have the Chinese I Ching. You have quantum physics, and you have genetics. So the way I always like to describe it is it's like science meets spirituality, because to me, and being a scientist at heart, I need to have this evidence. Like just having something that feels quite spiritual might feel like it's more raw than being real. And I assure you it's not. So unlike a lot of self-discovery systems, this one actually emphasizes a huge amount on the awareness, because when you actually get familiar with who you are and what your particular type is, it really shows you that just that awareness piece can give you so much information, and it really helps you to take that pressure off. So another aspect of human design, which is perhaps a little bit different than typically other profiling systems that you may have come across, especially if you come from the corporate world, what makes this unique is it is actually extremely practical. Like it's a tool, and it helps you to not only see yourself, but gives you this kind of roadmap of what it'd like to and how you can live your unique potential. So you are trying to live out this uniqueness, and how can you do more of that? And the reason that this speaks to me so much is because ultimately, like, the underlying objective of this, if you like, can be helping us how to use our energy in the most effective and efficient way possible. Now, if you know anything about me, my business is built around efficiency. Efficiency is my core value, and I believe that if when we are efficient in all areas of our life, then, we can truly be very intentional and purposeful with how we live our life in our day to day, and also how we run our business. And as mums who are juggling both, that is super, super valuable. So back to human design. It can also help us, because we have this understanding about ourselves, it can help us to see how we can make our aligned decisions and make them easier, because, there are different ways that different people will work. And we don't always see what that's like for us. So let me go through the different types there are. And there's only actually 5 types. Officially, there's 5 types, right? Now, generators are the biggest part of this whole world in terms of how many people are generators. 70% of people are generators. They can be divided up into 2 different types within that. So you could be a generator, or you could be a manifesting generator, but technically they are both generators. They have a sacral life force, and they are actually here to give energy to humanity. It's a massive role that they play, and our world is full of generators. Then we have manifestors, and manifestors form just about 10%, and they are the people who can manifest very easily. They are the conquerors of the past, because, they had both visions and they could go and do the things very easily. Then we have projectors, and there are roughly about 20% of them in this world. This is a really fascinating type, because this is the newest type that exists. So a long time ago, projectors didn't actually exist in this world, and this is really interesting to me and fascinating. But what happened is that as humanity has evolved, there has been a need for them, and that with that need, there are projectors in this world, and their role is to guide us through to the next paradigm. So at one point in time, there was no need for them, and as you will see everywhere, we are always shifting. And there is this next paradigm that is coming now, which means we need these projectors. So 20% of the world's population will be projectors. And last but not least, we have reflectors. Now, they are also known as non-energy types. And what they really do is they sample other people's energy. And what they do is they take that energy and then they reflect back on what is going on around the world. So they are here to reflect to us as a society. Now, I want to share the chart with you, which is a chart you'll be able to get free. You can type up free human design chart on Google, and you'll find lots of different websites that give you access. You just need to pop your birth information in. So all you need to share is the exact time of your birth and the exact place of your birth as best as you can. The place isn't as long as you have some locality, it will be fine. With the birth time, if you're exact, it's far more accurate, because what this does is, remember I said that it was based on astrology. So at the time of your birth, what it does is it looks for when your design date is, which is actually 3 months before you're born, and your actual birth date, and the positioning of the planets and the sun and the energy therefore at that particular time. So therefore, you also need to be aware, the chart, needs to be aware of where in the world you are, because that's going to dictate, what energy was present in that particular place. Now it comes up with a chart, so I'm going to share my screen with you next, and then I will talk you through some of the aspects. So bear with me. This is what the chart looks like. It might look overwhelming and lots of shapes and patterns. This is my chart. And I just want to demystify this because it can definitely look overwhelming. And I remember looking at my chart, printing it off and just putting it away for a while. So I don't want you to do that. That's why I wanted to share with you some of the basics first. So firstly, there's this picture in the middle that looks a little bit like the chakra system, lots of shapes and lots of colours and lines and shapes and colours and all these numbers, okay? But if we just ignore that for a second, if you look on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side, you have two columns, personality column, and then there's a design on the left. So the personality on the right is your personality, as in what is conscious. It's called conscious. And this might be something that you are more aware of. And then on the left-hand side where you have design, your design is based on your design date, which is 3 months before you're born. And this can also be called your unconscious side. So you have these numbers on each side, and all of the little symbols on the right and the left, you'll notice, are the same all the way down. They are the sun is at the top, and then you have the planetary symbols here. So if you're into astrology, you might recognize what these are, but basically there's the sun, there's the earth, there's the moon, and then you have the planets as well. So it's not anything to be worried about, but just like understanding what it is so that you can actually look past that. You have lots of numbers as well, and you will notice that the numbers on the actual body graph are numbers 1 to 64, and those numbers don't change on anybody's chart. What changes is whether they are coloured in or whether they're white. And basically it doesn't matter what the colour is, it's more the fact that is it coloured or is it white. And all of this is going to help us to understand and give an idea of how we are designed to live in flow. Now, let me very quickly go through what this body graph is actually showing us, because it does look very similar to the chakra system, but it is also quite different as well. So at the very top, if you look at all the big shapes, and they're different sort of shapes, there are triangular and squarish shapes, different sizes, and there are different colours depending on what chart you have. So don't worry about the colours, but if we go top to bottom, the top one is the head, and that represents the head. Then the next one, which is like a triangle pointing down, that is actually the ajna. So this is where you processing and your storage. Then next, the square under that is your throat. This is your communication and manifestation. Then you have the G center, which is a bit like a diamond shape, and this is your direction and love. And then further down from that is your sacral, which is your life force energy. And then right at the bottom at the base is your root, and this is your adrenaline and stress. Then to the left-hand side, you have a triangular shape. That's your spleen, which is your health and your intuition. And on the far right, you have a triangle similar to the one on the left, which is your solar plexus, and this is where the emotions are. And then you have a slightly smaller heart shape next to the solar plexus, which is the heart, and this is your will and your ego center. So slightly different from the chakra system because you have an extra 2 chakras there. And really, and all in all, human design is really powerful. And if the first thing that you do is to just work at what your type is, and which one of those 5 types you are. Like, you don't need to know everything. This is the thing with human design. It can become a rabbit hole, but you really don't need it to. If you just understand that and then actually have a think or even search for what it means to be that type, that would be my recommendation, to just start there. Like, you really do not need to know what all these numbers mean, what all these shapes mean, what it all means, because we have to do things like one step at a time. But if you want to go all heavy and deep into this, then do send me a message, let me know, get in touch. I do work with my clients where we actually go through the whole process of understanding this, and not only understanding this, using it as a tool so you can really embody who you are and make better decisions in your life, know how to handle that conflict. And the conflict is the inner conflict as well as the outer, because once we start understanding how we operate inside, we let go of a lot of pressure, we understand ourselves better, our past experiences even make sense, because it is fascinating to see how much our essence of us can come through in this. So it's been wonderful doing this for clients, and I am sharing more and more with you through the podcast on the human design and how that human design has impacted. So if you haven't watched back, then I would recommend that you go and watch one of the latest episodes where I share Sarah's design, and we've got a part 1 and a part 2, and I'd say part 2 is the one to watch, because part 2 we cover so much in terms of the insights and the realizations and the impact of the human design. So I will see you next time. Thanks for listening.